Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we've got the new handicap marks. They're out for the week. Few interesting ones. I thought the raise of Ahoy Sinor £11 to 169 was a bit silly. He got the highest rise over fences out of any horse in the UK. Obviously, the Irish might have gone up, pushed their ones up, but yeah, he went up £11 for finishing second to Jerry Colombe, back up to 169, which is the same mark he got when he finished second to Shishkin. Now, he might be a 169 horse at Aintree, but he's not a 169 horse anywhere else. It's a bit of a... It's a tricky one, I guess, for the handicapper, because we don't currently rate them based on different courses. You know, they don't have different marks based on the course. We do for the type of race. So why don't we for the course as well? Maybe they should start looking into that. And some horses run great at Cheltenham and some run terrible at Cheltenham. Some run great at Sandown and run terrible at Cheltenham. Maybe we should start looking into handicap marks based on the course as well. I know you could then say, yeah, but then we'll get based on the going as well. And, you know, the going is something that changes. So that's not something the handicapper is in control of. But the course doesn't change. The course is Cheltenham. Cheltenham is Cheltenham. It doesn't go all, this week we're going to be running left-handed. This week we're going to be running right-handed. This week we're going to be taking 3 turns in the middle, etc. So, yeah, I just wonder whether that's one of the next things they might look at doing, is actually bringing in handicap marks based on the course as well. Because I think some of them are unfairly unfairly raised based on one run at a course that clearly the horse seems to run well at. So let's go through our handicap changes that caught my eye. We're starting off with Johnny Who finished 4th in a handicap behind Gwenny May Boy, Lord Snooty and West Balboa. Now, for me, Gwenny May Boy was clearly very well handicapped. If we actually go back, we can look at 5th as well. 5th was Montmoral. So, Gwenny May Boy was clearly very, very well handicapped. She, very, very impressive he was. And clearly, Harry had never ridden him before, otherwise you would imagine he would have been riding. Lord Snooty is one that we think is well handicapped. Probably wanted softer going and yet still ran a great race for second. West Balboa was 3rd. Probably been aimed at the race, was only £6 higher than when winning the race the previous year by 5 lengths. Johnny Who finished 4th. Now, for me, Johnny Who didn't get home. Of the front 4, he was the one that came there looking like he was really going to challenge, and probably just faded right near the finish to only finish 4th. Now, I don't believe he's getting home over 3 mile. I think he wants to drop him back in trip to 2.5. And I think the race that they could do that in is at Sandown on the 27th of April. So still 11 days 11 days to go. There's a Bet365 handicap hurdle over 2 miles 3 and 173 yards for horses rated 0 to 135. Now, Johnny Who, as I've put in the tweet, is £2 higher to 138. I think, you know, clearly would get in then. Would be relatively near the top of the handicap, probably carrying around the 11 stone mark. They won this race last year with Krabilly. Owner, trainer, jockey. I think it's a perfect place for them to run Johnny Who, to be honest. So, yeah, he's definitely one that I think can be competitive in a handicap. Maybe he needs to drop him back in trip. I do think the whole handicap will work out well. I think that race with Gwenny May Boy, Lord Snooty, West Balboa, I think a couple of the Aintree handicaps will work out well, to be fair. And yeah, so if he drops back in trip for that race at Sandown, I think he would go very close. The second horse also came from that race, and that was Lord Snooty, who's also gone up £2. Got up £2 to 127. Now, there is a report already that he's going to go chasing next season, which I understand. But with that in mind, go and make the most of this season. I personally believe the horse wanted softer going. They took the tongue tie off and it really worked. He ran a great race for second, clearly bumped into a very well handicapped horse, but probably beat a very well handicapped horse in West Balboa. I think he beat a well handicapped horse in Johnny Who, and he beat the Temps final winner in Montmoral. So I think Lord Snooty is still nicely handicapped, and if they kick on and they go for another race, I'm hoping it's this one at Haydock. The 3 mile handicap on the 11th of May, so just under a month's time. It's relatively decent prize money for the race, and they could win that and then turn up next season over fences, novice chasing, and start over fences. But yeah, whilst they clearly got the horse running well, he's in good form. Hopefully he came out the race well. I think the race will work out well. Might as well take in this race at Haydock on the 11th of May. The next horse I want to talk about, the last one over hurdles, is Spirit Donu, who I thought actually ran a good race for 5th. Behind Katira, Django By, can't think of who the other ones were. Katira, Django By, something else that went with Katira for a long way. Just trying to look at who it is. In the Waterside and What's Up Darling. Spirit Donu didn't get the clearest of runs. Finished well. Finished 5th, albeit well beaten. But I think this race will work out well. Katira was well handicapped. Django By was well handicapped. In the Waterside was suggested to be well handicapped based on that he'd been really highly regarded at the beginning of the season. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that run from Spirit Donu, and I think that kind of suggests that he definitely gets this 2.5 mile trip. With that in mind, I think he also should go to the race at Sandown for the 2.5 mile. Now, I know you're saying, yeah, but you've talked about 3 horses and 2 of them for the same race. How often do trainers not run in races that look suitable, though? Very often. You often see they don't run in the right races, so suggesting 2 or 3 for the same race isn't always a bad thing. Why should Spirit Donu run there? Well, it's 2.5 mile. He's been to Sandown twice. He's won on both. Both times he's won at Sandown, albeit that was on heavy going. But yeah, if he runs on the 27th of April in 11 days, it might still be heavy come later on this month with all the rain that is forecast. Yeah, I think this looks ideal for him. The final race of the Saturday card at Sandown on the 27th of April. If they both ran, Johnny Who and Spirit Donu, it would come down to the ground. If it was heavy going, I'd be picking Spirit Donu. If it was a bit better than that, even if it was like good to soft in places sort of ground, I would probably be siding with Johnny Who, but I'd have to have another look at it. But I think both of them can certainly run big races at Sandown if they go there. Moving on, and we go to the first of the chasers, and it is it's Frere Bombo, who's dropped £1 to 130. Now, in my tweet, I pointed out that Venetia Williams' horses at Aintree finished pulled up 8th, and that was 8th out of 10. And if we actually look at her form in April, she's had 1 winner, 1 second, 2 thirds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pulled up, and a few other poor runs. I think one of those thirds was actually 3rd of 3 as well. Venetia Williams' horses are running terrible. So with that in mind, that drop of £1 might be ideal in that I already thought the horse was well handicapped. £2 lower than when finishing third to Guestkill and Percussion in the Sefton in November. Now another £1, £3 lower, come back next year. It's quite simple for Frere Bombo. Come back to this race next year off a £3 lower mark. And as I said, beaten by Aintree Specialist in Guestkill and Percussion, beat Nassalam, who went on to win a Welsh National, and beat Fantastic Lady, who also came out and done well since. I mean, it's quite a straightforward one, but it's definitely one that you want to put in your NAGME to remind you that Frere Bombo, when he runs in the Sefton, will have a big chance. Venetia Williams' horses were just bang out of form last at Aintree in April. Next horse I want to talk about is the King of Ryhope, who I watched his race, and we were on the King of Ryhope. He got well supported, went off 7-2 favourite. I thought he made 8 mistakes out of 18 fences, which you're not going to get away with that. Not at this level. Yeah, that was a very, very disappointing effort. But he lost a shoe. He made 8 mistakes. I would go ignore that run. Take his form on his previous his ability on his previous runs. And, you know, he went off 7-2 favourite for a feature handicap at Aintree. He's going to go close next time wherever he runs, as long as he jumps a bit better. And I would be looking at something like the Clark Chase over 2.5. So you're dropping him back slightly in trip. You can see that he'd stepped up in trip. I don't totally believe he definitely needs a drop back in trip, but maybe just it's a few less fences to jump and a few less fences to make mistakes over. Go to Utoxeter. Interestingly, Dan Skelton had 2 runners in this race last year, the Clark Chase. He finished second with Quid Pro Quo and fourth with Walk and Clover. So it's a race that he definitely wanted to win. They were actually RTR 1 and 2 on our ratings as well. So he'd sent horses that were in form to that race, probably thinking I can win them at that as well. So I do think it's a race that he'd like to win. I do think, well, we know that Dan Skelton has a good record at Utoxeter. He does send quite a lot of runners there. So I think this would be really ideal, the Clark Chase for the Sir Stanley and Lady Clark Challenge Trophy. It's okay prize money, but I think it's a race that they could definitely win, and I'm quite keen on him if he turns up there. The final 2 both have similar-ish thoughts. So the first one is Might I, who's dropped £2 to 138. Now, that was despite running over hurdles. The handicapper dropped him £2 over fences as well. Now, really, over fences, he only ran one poor run. That was when he was third of 4 in a Grade 2. The fourth horse that day, so behind him, was Unexpected Party. He went and won a feature handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. He went and won the plate, didn't he? Not the plate, he went and won the Grand Annual. So there was nothing wrong, actually, with that run. He then won a two-runner race at Exeter, the run before that, and before that he was second to Complete Unknown. Well, Complete Unknown was rated 152. Might I now is rated 138. Why would you not send him back over fences next year? And I would be looking at the December Gold Cup, because his form on the new course at Cheltenham is very good. It's actually a second and a fourth. Both of these here, the second in a 2-mile handicap and then fourth in the Martin Pipe behind, was that behind Iroko that year? Let me have a look. Now, bearing in mind, we think Iroko might be a Grade 1 horse. It was behind Iroko. No Ordinary Joe. Buddy won, who went and ran a really good race in the Stayers Hurdle at Aintree. Yeah, I mean, this was a good run. Maybe he just likes that new course at Cheltenham. You know, he disappointed in the Coral Cup, but that was on the old course. Maybe the new course is what he wants. Send him back over fences off 138. I think he would have a good chance in a December Gold Cup. I think one of his dangers, if he does run in the December Gold Cup, is last year's winner, Fugitive. Fugitive is down £2 to 152, which is only £1 higher than when actually winning the December Gold Cup, when he beat Il Rodotto and Frero Bombeau. Now, Fugitive since then they dropped him in trip to 2 mile for a Clarence House, wasn't good enough for that. Tried him in the Ryanair, wasn't good enough for that. Stepped him up to 3 mile for a handicap. Probably wasn't there to run a race, to be honest. Dropped £2. That means he's dropped back from 157 to 152 now in total. He's only £1 higher than when winning this race, the December Gold Cup, which is worth nearly £74,000. That's where I think they'll be targeting him next year. They might turn up. I would probably run both him and Might I, if I owned them both, in a 2 mile handicap chase just before, in October. I think Triple Trade won it last year. Run them there. You might end up getting dropped another couple of £. And yet you'll get fitness, and I think they would both turn up to this December Gold Cup with massive chances. If Fugitive ran off 151 again, surely he would go close again. And if Might I turned up, I think Might I could turn up off 138, and I think he goes close. But if he turned up off a little bit lower, he'd have a massive chance as well. So yeah, I think they are both horses that we should look out for the December Gold Cup. So a quick recap: Johnny Who and Spirit Donu could both go to Sandown for the final race of the card on the Saturday, 27th of April. I think both would go close. The ground would decide which one I fancied most. Lord Snooty might as well kick on whilst he's in good form. There is a race at Haydock on the 11th of May that I think he would go well in. It's over 3 mile. Any soft in the ground, I think he would go really well. I think it dried out significantly on the Saturday. Ferrero Bombo, you can ignore the Venetia Williams horses' form. They are bang out of form, so keep an eye out for him when he comes back next season, hopefully for that Sefton off a £3 lower mark than went third this year. King of Rye-Hope made so many mistakes at Aintree that he was never going to win that. Maybe dropping back into it purely to remove some of the fences. I think he is well handicapped still. And there is this Clark Chase that the trainer and jockey, or trainer, had for second and fourth last year from 2 runners. And both Might Eye and Fugitive, I think, are interesting next season for the December Gold Cup. Might Eye likes the new course, and arguably only ran one poor race over fences, whilst Fugitive has dropped back down to a mark that he can now be competitive in handicaps again.